This story is titled, I Canceled My Flight to Help My Wife Move Her Brother into His Apartment. She called me deadweight with a beard. Now she's calling me from that same apartment because he moved out and took all her furniture. You know that moment in a marriage where you hear the words coming out of your spouse's mouth and your brain goes, ah. So this is the exact second the love dies? Yeah, that was me. 2 weeks ago. In the parking lot of an overpriced U-Haul rental, sweating through my only decent t-shirt while my wife, my actual, legally wedded wife, looked me dead in the eye and called me deadweight with a beard. Now, I've been called a lot of things in my life. Lazy, overthinker, the guy who once paid $70 for a coffee table that turned out to be an IKEA shoebox with legs. But deadweight with a beard? That's a fresh level of marital spice I wasn't ready for. Especially considering I just canceled a work trip to Denver to help her brother Greg, the 31-year-old freeloader with a vape dependency and a single IKEA fork, to move into his new apartment. Let me rewind a bit. I'm Tyler, 35, married to Camila for going on 6 years. You know how it is, good years, weird years, what the hell are we doing years. We've had all three. Camila's passionate, assertive, the type who orders for both of us at restaurants and then gets mad when I don't like her choice. And me? I'm the easygoing one. That's code for people walk on me like I'm the welcome mat at Target. So when she asked me, told me to skip my trip because her brother needs us right now, I said yes. Like a dumbass. This trip wasn't a vacation. It was client work. Paid. Important. But Greg apparently needed family support as he moved from one lease to another like the flaky snowflake he is. Fast forward to the day of the move. I'm hauling boxes labeled Greg's important stuff, which, I kid you not, turned out to be one Bluetooth speaker, a jar of protein powder, and a half-used bottle of beard oil, while Greg stands there on his phone scrolling through TikToks and occasionally yelling. Don't scratch my TV, man. His TV was in a Target bag. By hour 4, I was drenched in sweat, hungry, and one comment away from becoming a true crime podcast episode. And that's when it happened. I asked Greg to maybe help carry a dresser, his dresser, and Camila, in her best, "Why am I married to you" voice, said, Jesus, Tyler, stop acting like you're doing us a favor. You're deadweight with a beard right now. And folks, I did something I've never done in our marriage. I laughed. Not a polite laugh. Not a confused laugh. A broken, I might burn this whole building down kind of laugh. Because in that moment, something in me shifted. And that shift? Oh, it was just getting started. So there I am, sweat-soaked, borderline dehydrated, lugging Greg's dusty-ash dresser up 3 flights of stairs because the elevator smelled weird, and Greg's a delicate flower who apparently can't be in the presence of Febreze. My lower back is riding its will. My knees are threatening to unionize. I'm 2 blisters away from becoming a statistic. And what are Greg and Camila doing? Sitting. On the couch. Laughing. Not haha, the TikTok was funny laughing. I'm talking that laugh. The one where people lean into each other like they're co-hosting a roast, and you are the punchline. I set the dresser down with a grunt, probably dropped it more than placed it, if I'm honest, and that's when Greg, from his throne of uselessness, goes. You good, Big T? Want us to call Life Alert? Camila snorted into her iced coffee like it was the cleverest thing anyone's ever said. He's fine, she said. This is the most exercise he's had since we painted the guest room, and he pulled a hamstring opening a paint can. Cue more laughter. From both of them. Loud. Echoing off the walls like insults and surround sound. Something inside me cracked. I don't even remember crossing the room. 1 second, I was blinking sweat out of my eyes, and the next I was grabbing Greg's overpriced gaming headset, the one he couldn't live without, that he wrapped in a towel like it was the Ark of the Covenant, and just launched it. Straight at the wall. It shattered. Instantly. Plastic shards and his precious comfort zone noise-canceling dreams scattered across the floor. What the F? Greg screamed, leaping off the couch like his beard oil had caught fire. Camila gasped, full drama mode activated. But I wasn't done. I turned to Greg, who puffed his chest like a frat boy about to get knocked into a TED Talk, and I hit him. Yeah, I punched him. Right in his smug, bearded face. I'd like to say it was satisfying, that I heard a satisfying crack, or that the world slowed down like some epic movie scene, but honestly, my fist just connected, his head snapped back, and he fell onto a pile of poorly folded hoodies. It was messy. It was chaotic. And it felt fantastic. For like 5 seconds. Then came the shrieking. Camila screamed like I just murdered a kitten. You're insane, she shrieked, jumping between me and Greg like this was Gladiator. You hit my brother. Are you out of your mind? He's out of testosterone, Greg mumbled from the floor, clutching his cheek. Don't you ever touch him again, she barked. God, you are clumsy and violent and pathetic. I don't need this. I don't need you. And that was it. That's the line that hit harder than anything I threw across that apartment. I don't need you. She said it with that same tone people use when they find moldy yogurt in the back of the fridge, as if I'd somehow expired. I stood there, fist clenched, heartbeat pounding, staring at this woman, this stranger who once said I was her best friend, her rock, her safe place. Now I was clumsy, dead weight, and apparently expendable. And the worst part? I believed her. For a second, I actually believed her. But then I looked around at the disaster of a life I was breaking my back to support and realized maybe they were the dead weight all along. I didn't even slam the door. That's how you know it was real. There was no screaming, no threats, no dramatic exit line stolen from a Netflix divorce drama. Just me, standing in the middle of Greg's half-furnished cave of entitlement, fist still trembling, heart still burning, and suddenly, silence. And then I said it. Calm. Low. Like I've been holding it in for years. I've had enough of this circus. I'm done, Camila. I don't want to sleep next to someone who looks at me like a disappointment. Who talks to me like I'm an employee she regrets hiring. You don't see me anymore. You see a chore. And I'm not going to live like that. She didn't blink. Didn't flinch. Just folded her arms across her chest and fired back like she was reading off a script she'd written months ago. Good. Then go. I don't need someone who cracks the second life gets a little hard. I'll handle everything on my own. You ever hear someone say something with so much fake confidence, it's almost impressive? That was Camila. Pure delusion, like she was starring in a solo spin-off called Camila, independent and stunning, with Greg as her unhinged sidekick. So I left, walked out of that apartment, down those 3 cursed flights of stairs, got in my car, and sat in the driver's seat with my hands still shaking. Not from anger, not from the punch, but from the weight of 6 years unraveling like cheap IKEA twine. I didn't go home. I went to a diner, sat in a booth, ordered pancakes, realized I hadn't eaten in 12 hours. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't text her to let her know where I was. 3 days passed. No calls. No texts. No, I'm sorry, or let's talk, or even a rage-fueled voice message. Just radio silence. And honestly, I started to feel lighter. Clearer. Like my lungs were working again. But then came day 4. 9:42 a.m. My phone buzzed. Camila. I stared at the name. Let it ring once. Twice. I answered. Her voice was shaky. Tired. Edgy, but not in the usual performative way. This was different. Real. Tyler, can you come over? I nearly laughed. Thought you didn't need me, I said flatly. Then came the kicker. Her voice cracked like a windshield hit by a brick. Greg moved out. Took all the furniture. Even the fridge. I don't know what to do. I sat back in my chair, stunned. Wait. He what? Everything's gone. The couch, the bed, the TV. He took the toaster. Tyler. The toaster. He said it was all his because technically his name was on the delivery invoices. And suddenly, I could see it. Camila, standing in the middle of that apartment, all alone, surrounded by echoes and a rug imprint where the coffee table used to be. No fridge. No pride. No backup plan. Greg hadn't just left. He'd robbed her blind. Turns out when your life is built on fragile alliances and borrowed loyalty, one crack is all it takes to bring it crashing down. And me? I just leaned back, stared out the window at the rising sun, and said, Told you I was dead weight with a beard. Guess now you're just weightless. I met her at a diner. Same one I'd gone to the night I walked out. I figured if she was going to try and spin this into an apology, the universe deserved the symmetry. Camila looked different. Not bad. Just off. Her eyeliner was smudged, her hair thrown up like she'd wrestled with the mirror and lost. She sat across from me in a booth we'd once shared over waffles and inside jokes. Back when things were stupid and easy and didn't involve moving boxes, thrown punches, or verbal assassinations involving my facial hair. She opened with small talk. You look good. I didn't respond. Just took a sip of my coffee and waited. I wasn't there for pleasantries. She shifted, tapped her nails against the table like she was stalling for time. I've been thinking a lot, she finally said. About us. About everything. What I said. What I did. I was angry. Caught up in the moment. I didn't mean it. No, I said calmly. You did. You meant every word. That's the part that hurts. Her eyes welled up, but I didn't flinch. I'd seen those tears before. They used to break me. Now they just looked like a rerun. I messed up, she whispered. Greg, he screwed me over. Tyler. He took everything. And now he won't even answer my calls. I raised an eyebrow. That your apology? That your pitch? My brother robbed me, now I'm sad. Come fix it. She shook her head, frustrated. No. I realized what I had. With you. I was ungrateful. Cruel. I didn't see how much you were doing for me until it. Buzz. Her phone lit up on the table. She tried to ignore it, but I leaned forward. Who's that? She glanced down. Her expression shifted. Pain. Embarrassment. That secondhand shame when you're finally starting to see yourself the way others always have. It's Greg, she muttered. I motioned. Read it. She hesitated, then tapped the screen. Her lips parted slightly as she read silently, her face slowly draining of color. What's it say? She handed me the phone. It was a single message. I don't need this kind of family. I'm done being your scapegoat. You let him walk out, and now you want to cry about loyalty? Lose my number. I read it twice, just to let the satisfaction marinate. I guess he figured out what the rest of us already knew, I said quietly, handing the phone back. You only show up when something breaks, and only if you can find someone else to fix it. Camila's voice cracked. I made a mistake, Tyler. I want to try again. I want to go to counseling. I want to fight for us. And for a second, I could feel the weight of our history pressing on my chest. Every memory, every late-night grocery run, every dumb movie quote we used to whisper half asleep. But then I remembered the box, the sweat, the laughter, the words. Dead weight with a beard. And I knew. You had a husband, I said. You traded him for a couch, a vape enthusiast, and an insult. That's not something we recover from. She reached out across the table. I didn't take her hand. She cried quietly. People stared. I stood up. Take care, Camila. That was the last thing I ever said to her. Outside, the sky had that soft golden look that makes everything feel just a little more cinematic. I slid into my car, started the engine, and smiled for the first time in days. Sometimes you don't get the ending you wanted. You get the one you needed. The thing no one tells you about walking away is that it's never just one door you close. It's a hallway, long echoey. Every step echoing like, you sure you're done with that life? And yeah, I was sure. But apparently my past wasn't. It had other plans. Namely, my phone buzzed 2 days after the diner meeting with Camila. I'd just gotten home from work, still settling into the blissful, quiet life of a man who no longer has to defend his facial hair or emotional labor, when I saw the name pop up on my screen. Elena. Now, here's the twist. Elena is Camila's cousin. The cool one. The one who always gave me the side eye at holidays, then snuck me beers in the garage during Thanksgiving because she knew I'd need them. She was blunt, always wore combat boots no matter the occasion, and had once whispered to me at a wedding, you deserve someone who doesn't treat you like a barstool. So when she texted, I braced myself. Hey, I know it's random. Can we talk? Something you should know. We met at a park. Neutral ground. She showed up with iced coffee, dark sunglasses, and that look that said someone's about to get exposed. Look, she said, skipping pleasantries, I'm not here to make anything messier, but you deserve to know this. She pulled out her phone, opened her photos, and handed it to me. It was a screenshot. A group chat. Camila's name up top. She'd sent a message to 2 people, Elena and another cousin, just days before the move, while I was still canceling my flight and buying Greg's stupid pizza. The message read, Tyler's being dramatic again. Might finally be time to let him walk. He's so clingy. Can't even lift the box without acting like he's building the pyramids. LOL. Another message followed. If he bails, at least I get the apartment. Win-win. I handed the phone back slowly, heart thudding. Why are you showing me this? I asked. Elena's expression softened. Because she's trying to spin the whole thing now. Telling people you blew up everything. That you were always controlling. That you hit Greg out of nowhere and stormed off. I blinked. She's rewriting the story? She nodded. But not on my watch. For a moment, I didn't know what to say. Part of me wanted to scream, to throw something again, to go back and say the things I should have said the first time she made me feel small. But more than anything, what I felt, deep in that strange, quiet place inside my chest, was an overwhelming sense of finality. Not rage. Not relief. Just this bone-deep exhaustion that comes when you finally stop trying to fix something that never wanted to be repaired in the first place. I wasn't angry anymore. Not in the way I'd been in that apartment, or in the diner, or even after reading Camila's messages. I was just done. Done dragging my heart through a war zone where I had to keep justifying why it mattered. Done explaining myself to people who built bonfires out of our relationship and then stood there pointing fingers at me, like I was the one holding the match. Done chasing ghosts through memories, trying to find the version of her that once held my hand like she meant it. That night, I walked through my apartment slowly, as if each room needed to feel the shift. I sat down, unlocked my phone, and scrolled through my photos, every smile, every fake happy moment, every filtered vacation that now looked like a hostage situation in retrospect, and deleted them, one by one. No music playing. No wine. Just quiet and the tapping sound of me erasing someone who had already let go of me long before I walked out the door. Then I opened my social media, unfollowed her, unfriended her, blocked her. Not out of spite, but because healing requires silence, and she had already made enough noise in my life. And finally, just before I powered down for the night, I sent her a text, not to spark a new argument, not to bait a response, but because it felt like something I needed to say to mark the end of it all. I hope someday you tell the truth. Not to anyone else. Just to yourself. She didn't respond. I didn't expect her to. But a minute later, my screen lit up with a message from Elena. You good? I stared at it for a second, the question hanging in the air like the smoke after fireworks. And strangely, surprisingly, the answer came easily. For the first time in longer than I could remember, I really was. Not because I got the revenge people dream of, not because she was finally exposed or humiliated or begging to be forgiven, but because I had seen her clearly for the first time, without the fog of nostalgia or the echo of apologies that never came. And when I saw her for what she was, I walked away. Not bitter, not broken, just free. Word travels fast when you're the villain in someone else's redemption arc, faster than truth, faster than decency, and definitely faster than any version you'd actually recognize. Within a week of that text to Camila, I started hearing whispers from places I hadn't heard from in years. A mutual friend here, an old coworker there, people who hadn't spoken my name in months suddenly reaching out with these awkward, half-choked messages like, "Hey man, just wanted to check in, Camila's been saying some stuff." Apparently, I'd abandoned her in a moment of crisis. I'd humiliated Greg unprovoked, left her alone to fend for herself, and had anger issues that had been building for years. She'd painted a masterpiece of victimhood, a sob story in soft lighting where I was the cold, emotionally distant husband who cracked when asked to help family. She didn't mention the insults, or the laughing, or the part where I nearly herniated a disc trying to carry a dresser for a guy who couldn't carry a conversation without vaping between syllables. But the worst part? Some people bought it. People who knew us, who knew me, started questioning things in that cautious, judgmental way that feels like a knife disguised as concern. I could feel the slow rewriting of history happening behind my back, like someone was replacing the pages of our story with ones that fit her narrative better. And just when I thought I'd seen the last of the fallout, it came. A text. From an unknown number. The kind of message that makes your stomach twist before you even open it. "Hey Tyler, I know this might be weird, but Camila asked me to invite you. She's throwing a small get-together next weekend. Says she wants to talk, maybe clear the air. No pressure. Rachel." Rachel, one of Camila's friends. The kind who always smiled like she was grading you silently in her head. I stared at the message for a long time. My first reaction was laughter. Honest, disbelieving, bitter laughter. "You've got to be kidding me" laugh that echoed in the empty apartment like I was the punchline in a joke I didn't remember agreeing to. She wanted me to come to a party. After all of it. After the insults, the betrayal, the lies to mutuals, and the complete collapse of whatever fragile trust had still been holding the wreckage together. And now she wanted me to mingle, maybe over chips and dip, like we were all just a few misunderstandings away from hugging it out in a kitchen full of second-hand wine and fake smiles. But it wasn't just the audacity of the invite, it was why. Camila didn't want to clear the air. She wanted to manage the narrative. To make sure I played nice, smiled in public, and didn't contradict the stories she'd told people while crying into her coffee. It was image control, not reconciliation. And I wasn't about to be a prop in her emotional stage play. Still, something in me stirred. Not out of hope. Not out of some delusional fantasy where we made peace over mini quiches. But because I'd spent too long being quiet while she told our story like it was a monologue. Maybe it was time for her to feel what it's like when the other character finally speaks. I didn't respond right away. I needed to think. Not because I didn't know the answer, but because I wanted to choose how I said it. How I made it clear that the version of me she thought she could still manipulate had been buried somewhere between the shattered headset and the moment she said I was dead weight. So I crafted a reply, every word deliberate. "Tell Camila I appreciate the invite, but I won't be attending." If she has something to say, she had every chance to say it when I was standing right in front of her, sweating through my shirt and begging for basic respect. I don't do performances, and I don't do revisionist history. I had sinned. No hesitation. No response followed. And that silence? That was the sweetest damn thing I'd heard all week. A week passed after I sent that message. No reply. No apology. No surprise. Camila's silence was her last act of control, her final power move, withholding closure like it was a reward I hadn't earned. But the thing is, I didn't want closure. I wanted distance. I wanted silence so pure it could scrub her voice from the inside of my skull. And for a little while, it worked. My phone was quiet. My life was calm. I started sleeping better, eating real meals, remembering who I was before I became the man trying to earn love in exchange for labor. Until Tuesday. Until the envelope. I found it in my mailbox. No return address. Thick paper. My name scrawled across it in handwriting I didn't recognize. Inside? One printed page. No greeting. No signature. Just 6 sentences. You don't know the full story. I wasn't the only one lying to you. Camila knew about the Denver trip. She asked Greg to sabotage it so you'd stay and help. Said she needed to test your priorities. The headset wasn't his, it was yours. You bought it for him. I read it twice, then again, each time feeling something in my spine go cold. No name. No proof. Just the words, dropped like a grenade in my carefully rebuilt quiet. At first, I told myself it was fake. Just drama. Someone trying to stir the ashes. But the more I sat with it, the more the pieces clicked into place. Camila had known about the Denver job. She'd asked a lot of oddly specific questions the week before. And Greg had joked about getting a surprise gift a few days before the move. I just thought it was something stupid from one of his wee buddies. And the headset? Yeah, I bought one during a promo deal. Forgot I even ordered it. It was supposed to be a gift. For him. They set me up. That whole day, my canceled work trip, the sweat, the insults, the punch, it wasn't spontaneous. It was orchestrated. She wanted to see if I'd choose them over myself. If I'd break for her. And when I finally did, she decided I was weak. She called it dead weight. I sat there, holding the paper like it might rot in my hands, trying to process what kind of person doesn't just betray you, but engineers your unraveling like a project plan. And then I knew what the silence meant. She didn't respond to my message because she thought she'd won. She thought I'd never find out. So I folded the paper, slipped it into a drawer, and poured myself a drink, not out of anger, but as a toast to the last lie finally surfacing. And as I sipped, my phone buzzed. A new message. No name. Just a number. One line. Thought you should know, Camila just got fired. HR found messages. Turns out she wasn't just testing your loyalty. I stared at it, the final nail sliding in like poetry. That was it. The final unravel. Her kingdom built on manipulation and performance was crumbling, and no one was going to save her. Not Greg. Not HR. Not me. Especially not me. Because while she was busy testing my loyalty, I was quietly rebuilding my freedom. And now, she's alone in the empire she burned down. No furniture. No brother. No job. No backup plan. Just smoke, silence, and the echo of a man she once called deadweight, who turned out to be the only thing holding everything together.